For 3.5 billion years, the climate on Earth has supported life, allowing species to diversify and flourish. In the last 10,000 years, this unusually stable climate has allowed the rise of civilizations and provided a home to 7 billion people. But the climate systems we depend on are becoming unstable. The atmosphere is warming at an alarming rate. And from the Amazon rainforest to the frozen tundra, our stable climate is heading towards tipping points. Scientists in groundbreaking research all over the world are trying to determine whether one small change in our oceans, ice sheets, or forests can tip the balance and change our world forever, inevitably, irreversibly. But how concerned should we be?
My name is Bernice Notenboom. I'm a climate journalist and adventurer. I've climbed Everest, walked to the poles, and seen for myself dramatic changes due to climate change. Now I'm on an expedition across Africa, from the far north to the south, to find out why scientists are so concerned about the mega droughts that threaten food security for millions of people.
Africa is vast, 5,000 miles from the far north to the south. A population over 1 billion people, covering 20% of the Earth's surface. Africa sits astride the equator, where powerful weather systems shape and influence the climate. But today, Africa is feeling extreme effects of a warming atmosphere. Many of the danger zones for climate change can be found here, and over 1 billion people face a devastating future as we turn up the heat 3 to 4 degrees this century. Could the tipping point of climate change hang in the balance here in Africa? Bernice starts her journey in far North Africa, one of the hottest and most desolate places on the planet, where things are beginning to heat up. The Sahara is a legendary desert, 15 times the size of Texas, the largest desert in the world, emitting vast volumes of dust. As the climate heats up, hot air rising off the Sahara could lift more dust into the atmosphere, acting like a greenhouse gas, trapping more heat. So the question is, could Sahara dust accelerate climate warming this century? Climate adventurer Bernice Notenboom travels across North Africa to meet Professor Richard Washington, who is running the world's first dust monitoring program in the Sahara Desert.
Richard Washington, welcome.
Thank you. How's life in the desert?
It's perfect. It's always perfect.
Well, I'll be.
Thanks very much.
Richard is a storm chaser, but instead of chasing tornadoes or hurricanes, he chases big dust storms. Richard and his research team are trying to understand how an overheated Sahara dust cloud will affect global and local climate systems this century. As the climate heats up, hot air rising off the Sahara could lift this dust up into the higher stratosphere. There, it might act like a greenhouse gas and trap more warmth in the atmosphere. This could act as a tipping point and accelerate the heat load.
I'm not a scientist, but I'll take a bit of sand and I add some into it and I know where it goes.
Millions and millions of tons of that stuff gets into the Saharan atmosphere every year.
Millions?
Well, it's the world's largest source of aerosols in June, July and August.
Gee, and how does that affect the climate then?
For a long time we've realised that the Central Sahara is a key player in the global climate system and the West African monsoon. And our problem is that we've got no observations from that central area.
Richard and his team know the West African monsoon rains water a vast agricultural belt called the Sahel in North Africa and feed millions of people. To study this important resource, the Oxford team has brought over 30 tons of sensors, detectors, and research planes to fly across a region larger than Northern Europe.